the Kenny Williams, and kind of alluded to a little earlier, like
Well,
basically,
it's kind of a big story. It's on the back page of the Chicago Sun-Times. He agreed to an interview
yeah,
yesterday, uh, where the headline is the White Sox are train off the rails. Uh, the full quote is, "It's a train that's come off the rails a little bit." And as someone who will be on a train to Chicago this Friday morning, I don't want my train to come even a little bit off the rails. Either a train is on or off the rails. So that quote I found a little bit amusing, to say the least. He was trying to. I think he said he was being honest, and he wanted to bring it back right in the middle of the sentence, not to be too alarmist. But of course, the Sun Times ran with this "we've come off the rails" quote. But yeah, Kenny thought it was to the point where he needed to speak to the media, which we haven't heard a whole lot from Kenny recently, uh, at least in the last couple of years, but leaving those duties to Rick Hahn. But it was interesting how that interview came out. I don't know if you read that yet, but you definitely should. He's trying to empathize with Sox fans, saying, we're in the same boat. We are extremely frustrated. We're not happy with how things are, but we believe in the plan, and believe in Grafal, believe in what we're doing, and we're going to right the ship. But talked about accountability as
yes, yes,
well,
that's
which
what
is,
I wanted you to get to. Yes,
yeah, that is a touchstone. That is a an incendiary point when it comes to White Sox Twitter, for sure. I've noticed, but because people picked up on that immediately and just were irate, because it seems like there is no accountability within the organization. As loyalty seems to be far more the mantra of the White Sox than accountability, at least with the front office. And the way Kenny phrased a few things, that he said, we are, we're holding everyone accountable, including ourselves in the front office. And of course, he didn't specifically mention Rick Hahn, but you and I were kind of texting, or maybe we were tweeting back and forth with, the loyalties. What could possibly happen here? And I interpreted all of that as he was kind of quietly saying that Rick Hahn is on the hot seat right now for all this. This has been his plan. This was essentially when the sell-off commenced in 2016. This was Rick's idea, and the way we had seen Kenny run the team was not this way at all. This is
true.
Rick's idea, and
Yeah,
everyone embraced that. We saw it work with the Cubs. We certainly have seen it work with the Houston Astros. We have not seen it yet work with the Tigers and other organizations, but uh, everyone fully embraced that, and we are now 7 years into that, where we are where we are. Uh, it got to the point, where Kenny felt he needed to say that. But I took it as, you pointed out astutely that Jerry is never firing Kenny Williams. That's just not happening. But in the way that at least we believe the organization is structured, is Kenny is Rick Hahn's boss and has the power to fire him, at least.
he
So
does.
is that something that could be on the table? I don't know what that would really accomplish, but I also don't really understand Kenny's comments at this point, and why that helps, why Rick wasn't the one saying this stuff, why Kenny felt like he needed to say it, but it certainly made headlines.
Well, I think we have seen one trend in Rick Hahn, and I think the reason Kenny came out is, Rick kind of goes in. It doesn't it seem like he sometimes goes into hiding sometimes when things get a little bit sketchy or
I don't
questionable.
think it's hiding. I think it's strategic. I think it's good cop, bad cop. We get
Yeah.
we get Kenny to come out to play the heavy, and we've got Rick to be sunshines and rainbows. Where even last week he was talking about why he was like criticizing the
Yeah.
reporters in that circle. Why are you guys so negative? Everyone's positive that I talk to.
Yeah. I don't know what I know
Who the
what
fuck are you talking to?
he said only the negative fans seek you guys out.
Yeah,
Everyone I talk to has positive feelings towards the team. That's everyone on Twitter lit that up too. They're like, "Who?
yeah.
Yeah, really, Rick? Who are you
What
talking
reality
to?"
is that? But
I mean, maybe me a week ago, I was still pretty positive, but right now, don't talk to me, Rick.
yeah,
But I had said to you, like, it's all great. It's to me, it's just words. Uh,
it is.
not to, but it's optics. Let me say it differently.
Mm,
It's optics.
yep.
and I believe they're disappointed. I don't think anyone expected 10
Oh,
games
sure.
under 500 or 11 games under 500 right now, but um it's also a lot of optics. I don't think anything would happen in the middle of the season anyway. I think
I don't.
maybe it could part ways after the season is over. Because
Yeah.
to your point, what does it accomplish? It's not going to put, no one else is going to come out to the games if they still suck because they fired Rick Hahn.
Well, and what does that do for this season? Yeah, I mean, the logistics of it are ridiculous. We spoke about this a little bit when I was ready to fire Alavila, and he subsequently was, but eventually. But what purpose does it serve? How does this help the organization to get rid of him at this moment? What does that really mean? I guess we were getting way past ourselves. Like Rick Hahn's getting fired, but I think it's a conversation that's gonna be coming soon, if not already. But the real question is, what does accountability mean to the White Sox organization? What if they speak about accountability, and this is why it's such a flashpoint for White Sox fans. They talk about accountability, but who's ever been accountable
No
on
one.
the
I mean,
field, in the dugout, at the front office? No one is accountable.
let's be honest. I really do feel if somehow the health issue thing didn't fall into the Sox lap, Tony La Russa would be in the dugout this year.
I mean, there's the cynics among us that believe that the health thing was a little bit trumped up and maybe overblown. It was just a convenient way not to fire Jerry's best friend and just let him go off into the sunset with his honor. But so I mean, that's very cynical, of course.
But I could see Jerry being like, well, what the fuck, Rick? I thought it was all going to be better now that Tony was gone, and we're actually worse right now than we were at the same point last year. So
yeah, I mean, Rick's been the GM for a total of 11 years, and he's had 2 winning seasons. One of those winning seasons was the shortened 60 game season that we make fun of the Dodgers for winning the World Series there. So do we even count that as a winning season?
not
Of
really.
course, last year if they had won one more game, they would have had a winning season. So that's a little dubious, but still, I guess the logic, we pointed out there's not really much logic to making Rick the sacrificial lamb at this point, but do they have to make some gesture towards accountability someplace? And it just seems like Rick Hahn is the candidate that could be that sacrificial lamb to say, no, we do hold people accountable. It might be illogical and not accomplishing anything, but it seems like they have to do something, and they're not going to fire their brand new manager.
Well,
If things don't.
It's not. I mean, I pointed out some things, but a lot of these are trends we've been seeing. It's this swing and ground ball rate it just seems like a hangover from the La Russa years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just put the ball in play and good things will happen. Well, not
Well,
if
you can't fire Tony.
I know, but you know what I mean? It's like these
can't
guys
fire the players.
These guys have had, has Pedro Grifal's staff had enough time with them to get them out of, that thinking when you've had it for 2.5 years, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
but whatever, like you're right. I mean, the only fall guy now at this point in time is Rick Hahn.
That just seems to be where everything is pointing in my mind. I don't see where anything goes. And again, this is way premature. He's not getting fired this season. I don't think, but we did bring it up at the end of last year. Like, when does Rick Hahn need to be held accountable? And if this season continues to be the dumpster fire that it is, I don't see how he can hold his job. But that's a long ways away. I mean, this could be the low point in the season for you guys. It'd be hard to imagine a much lower point. So it's just a time to bring it up at least. But
don't underestimate the White Sox.
Word Hole Media.